What's going on, everybody? We are back for the Real Bodybuilding Podcast, episode number 19. And I have a great guest on today. A lot of you guys have been asking me to get some of the X's and O's of bodybuilding involved in the conversation because we talk a lot about life, but we don't necessarily talk about all the nutrition stuff you guys want to hear about and all that. So I have Chris Tuttle with me. Chris, how are you?
Hey, man. How's it going?
I thought Chris would be a great addition to the show because he is a registered dietitian. He has a lot of clients. They all seem to be doing great. And I thought Chris could shed some light on some of the nutrition stuff that you guys have been asking about. So we're just going to have an open conversation and see where it goes. And hopefully you guys get a lot of information from it. So Chris, you had the North Americans this past weekend.
Yes, sir.
And how did your clients do?
Everyone went pretty well, man. I had 5 people compete. Everybody made first call out except one. We had one pro card. Everything went really well. I was happy with everything. You know, like there's not, I wouldn't sit back and, you know, sometimes you go back and you're like, oh, I would have changed this. There's not much I would have changed, maybe besides a few tweaks in posing or change of color. Somebody had different color than everybody else. So, you know, if everybody's wearing protein and somebody's wearing something super dark,
yeah,
you kind of start to look a little different, you know?
As a coach, are you handling all those minor details or are you just handling nutrition?
I do as much as I can that I can see, but
Okay.
sometimes I'm not aware that all of a sudden it's like, oh, wait, you're using that tan or,
yeah,
or, you know, it is, man, you help somebody pose over and over again and then they get on stage and it's the same old thing they were doing.
yeah, they could fall back into old habits.
Yeah.
So you had one pro card out of the group.
Yep.
Who was that?
That was Anthony Della Ventura. I think I'm saying his last name. He won the Masters 40 in overall, and he won the light heavyweight 35 Masters and got 4th in the overall. So technically, I guess he earned his pro card eligibility twice.
That's pretty awesome.
Perfect.
Yeah, no, I saw some of the pictures on your Instagram page. Your clients look great, but I wanted to ask you about that because how does the bodybuilding work? Is it every class winner gets a pro card?
For open bodybuilding?
Yeah.
For North Americans, I'm not sure. I know it used to be just the top 3 in the overall did.
Okay.
For Masters, I guess they changed it where it used to be just the overall 35 would get it, just the overall 40 would get it. This year, you had to be the top 3 in the overall Masters to get your pro card. I do know that. Per age group.
I saw some shows where they were giving out like 2nd and 3rd place pro cards. I don't think it was an open bodybuilding, but have you seen that or am I mistaken about
crazy.
that?
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, I look at that, to be honest, like, you know, I know everybody wants to win their pro card and like, I don't care what anybody thinks, but like, that's like skipping the last 4 weeks of Navy SEAL boot camp and be like, oh, I'll go right to war. I think I might rather make sure I'm well prepared because if you're placing 3rd, becoming a pro, no offense, you're most likely going to be a shitty pro because you're not supposed to be there.
Yeah, I mean, I never like to judge beforehand because people can change their physiques pretty rapidly.
Of course.
But I do, the thing I do agree with you on is if you can't win your class, you don't deserve to get your pro card.
Right, exactly.
So
and I don't know why sometimes people would want it because, you know, like I've been in a situation before where, you know, somebody gets 2nd, gets their pro card and they go right into a pro show a year later and they get smashed. Yeah. And they're upset. I'm like, listen, you have to understand, you know, like, you know, the lineup you were in that you turned pro in may not necessarily been a hard lineup, not knocking you or what happened, but now you're competing against people who are the best of the best.
Yeah.
So if you went and you did, say, nationals and you won the overall against a stacked class, got your pro card, you're more than likely to have a much higher percent of waiting a year or 2 and doing well as a pro. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Have you had to have those conversations with your clients?
Yeah.
Is it a hard conversation to have or is it like just a reality check?
It used to be, but now I really don't give a shit because it's like sugarcoating things just does not work.
Yeah.
You know, you tell people flat out, you know, like how some clients perceive themselves better than they are. And they'd be like, oh, I could definitely stack up against those guys. I can beat those guys. I'm like, well, let's slow your roll there. You know, Bobby, let's put things in perspective and do it. And then they get these expectations in their head they're going to win. and then they go again next year to that show they thought they were going to win, and it's a harder lineup, and then they get smashed, and then they're like, their life's over with. You know what I mean?
Do you tamper down expectations? Because I do that with my clients. Like I always err on the side of caution, because that's what I do with myself. So when I'm talking to my clients, I'm like, look, this is a big show, blah, blah, blah. We're just going to do our best. Like, I know some coaches are like, oh, you're going to win for sure.
No, that's the dumbest thing you say to somebody. I'm totally on your aspect. I came from a whole background of racing motocross my entire life. So like in racing motocross, it's an individual sport. So every time you're on the gate in your lineup, your whole focus is on me. Like, okay, I have to take this corner correctly. I have to do this correctly. I have to do this correctly in order to beat those guys. It's not like I'm going to get them like, no, I'm just going to win.
Yeah.
No, like you have to make sure you're doing everything that you need to do and focus on you to be the best version. After that, the cards fly where they fly.
Yeah.
So like the other thing too is like, I was in bodybuilding, there's a lot of insecurity and a lot of inflatable egos. And I think a lot of people will try to puff up their ego to hide their insecurity and convince themselves they're going to win. And then as soon as it doesn't go, it's like,
yeah,
they're like devastated. It's like, I don't know why people want to set themselves up for that type of expectation. Because as you know, like you prep people who have those expectations, their prep usually doesn't go super smooth.
Yeah. Have you lost clients because of your honesty? Because I know the reason I'm asking that is because I know some clients like to be pampered. They like to be coddled. They like to be always like the positive reinforcement. And I personally like the blunt truth. Like when my coaches say to me, look, you're behind, you're off season, you're too fat. You're like, I like that blunt honesty. So are you that way with your clients, or are you more positive reinforcement?
Probably more on the blunt side, but also on the side of progression. It's like, listen, man, I know you might not like where you are now, but you better than you were 3 days ago. And that's all that matters. We're going in the direction. Sometimes people can't handle, like, say you're 5 weeks out, like, dude, you're behind, you're not going to make it, then they fall apart. More or less stay positive, not being like, dude, you're awesome or anything like that. But
yeah,
in the same way with you, like, man, I like honesty. And like, what, I'm friends with Evan, and Evan since 2007. And since 2007 till now, I think Evan's only given me like 4 compliments over the shows. And I remember getting ready for nationals, and like, he will never say anything he doesn't mean. He's the most like well-rounded, integral person I've ever met. And at nationals, he looks at me and goes, holy shit, Tuttle, I've never seen you so dry and hard before. And I'm like, well, that means something, because everybody else is like, dude, you're going to kill it. You're going to smash it. And then somebody who always keeps his mouth down and says something that's way more meaningful.
Of course. So when did you turn pro?
2013 in the light heavyweight class.
Can I ask you a question? How tall are you?
5'9".
Why, and this may be a stupid question, but I have to ask it. Why are you in the 212 class and not, why, like, did you want to be bigger, or you just, this is good for you? This is what you want to do?
No, I mean, I really wanted to be bigger, but like, growing up training, like, I don't want to make this an excuse, but I didn't really have a lot of good role models. There wasn't a lot of coaches when I first started. So like, I did a lot of damage to my body with my lower back, knees, hips. And I got as high as 262 before. And like, I couldn't even walk around, man. My knees hurt, my hips hurt, lower back hurt. Sleep apnea was so bad, even my sleep apnea machine. And I'm like, maybe being that big is just not feasible for my structure and the damage I've done to my body, lifting through pain and causing all the issues I've done, just being a total knucklehead in the gym. I'm
sorry, I want to interrupt you. This is actually a really important point. Do you think that's your fault, or do you think it's genetic? And the reason I ask that is people are always asking me like why I have so many injuries. And I always wonder sometime if it's genetic, if it's something I did wrong in the early days, if it's because I started late, like, I don't know. So how do you attribute your pains that you're having strictly to the way you lifted?
Obviously there's always a genetic component. There's like no question there's a genetic component. Obviously racing motocross my entire life from age 7 to 21 pays a toll, all the broken bones. And then, but like, I ignored a lot of pain, and I obviously lifted like a lot of these bodybuilders do, amateur guys you see post videos on Instagram. Like, just a total jackass doing like 4 reps. Like, what's the point?
Yeah.
I remember ignoring a lot of pain, like, you know, doing heavy weight on hack squats or squats and like my knees getting swollen. And the only thing I was concerned about was, man, I hope my knee swelling goes down by next week so I can train again, you know? And then over the years and years, it started to get a little worse and worse. And then I sustained a pretty bad injury getting ready for New York Pro. I had chondromalacia, my knee so bad I couldn't even squat 135 the entire prep.
Yeah.
That's really the straw that broke the camel's back going into it. Now I have arthritis in my knees, and knees hurt every day. But it's a combination of both for sure.
How many pro shows have you done?
Only 2.
And how old are you?
36.
Are you going to do more? You're getting ready for something right now, aren't you?
Yeah, I decided to jump into California Pro in 10 weeks. My knee's been pretty good, and I kind of found a system of training that I can stimulate my quad without re-injuring or aggravating it every couple of weeks. So as long as that knee holds up and I can keep going what I'm doing, I'm gonna do it.
So there's a lot of people that message me with knee issues or elbow issues or shoulder issues. How have you managed to, including myself? I have Osgood Schlatter. I don't know if you know what that is, but
yeah, I had it too when I was racing motocross.
Yeah, mine's flared back up in the last like 3 months. For those of you who don't know, it's a calcium buildup at the top of the tibial bone, and it inflames the patella tendon pretty badly. So it makes it really hard to squat and things like that. So how have you been able to manage working around your knee injury or knee issue?
So like, I'll just say this for everybody who's listening, like everybody's knee issues or causes are different. So this doesn't apply to every knee issues. So my issue is I have an imbalance in my hips. My right leg's always been stronger. And when you train to muscular failure, there's always some type of compensation, right?
Mm-hmm.
So over the years of compensating, the left leg being weaker, my femur probably started to move forward a few more millimeters than my right was because it's weaker, grinding the femur into the patella. So you get scraping of the cartilage under the knee over years. Eventually chondromalacia starts and the cartilage on the patella deteriorates. So that is what happened to my knee. So now I got to do more single leg things, working that left leg completely independently from the right leg. So there isn't any compensation and I can completely pivot properly with good mechanics. The only downfall is, just as you know, in powerlifting, like powerlifting is a hip, like primarily a hip, all the power comes from the hips.
Yeah.
So now that I have to pivot and protect the knee, it's like my glutes and my hamstrings are growing faster on my left side, and quad activation is harder to get because I can't really drive upright or stay like a high bar squat, you know?
So when you say you have to pivot, are you talking about like if you're sitting in the leg press machine, you're not sitting exactly square, you're kind of like, you might be pivoted a bit to the left?
I mean more I have to pivot on my knee. So like I really have to make sure my knee doesn't travel forward to my toe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I have to load my hip properly and like with perfect mechanics. Like if you had to see like my lunge on my left leg, like it would be like the perfect, most textbook mechanics, you know? Yeah. Where my leg, I have a little more leeway. I can lean forward to get more quad activation.
Okay. So your body's compensating with the glute and the hamstring.
Yeah, to make up for the lack of quad firing.
But I think I saw a photo you posted a couple of days ago on your Instagram, and your legs look balanced.
I'm good at hiding it, my friend.
So what does the bodybuilding career look like? Is this just for fun at this point, or you still have aspirations?
I love bodybuilding. People, you know, a lot of my friends and people knock on me all the time. Why do you diet like that and eat like that? If you're not, I love it to the core. And whether I'm sponsored by Animal or competing, I will never, ever by any means stop living the lifestyle. Mm-hmm. I started living this lifestyle 2004, and I've never stopped. Even when I stopped for a year to go to school to finish my internship to be a dietitian, I still ate the same way. I still trained when I could. This wasn't a priority at that time. But I love it to death. I'll never stop training. I'll never stop living the lifestyle. I love it to death, and I would love to keep competing. But I mean, sometimes you got to like take into consideration, like, Jesus, do I want to be able to catch a football with my kid if like when I'm 40?
Yeah.
Run my body into the ground till nothing. I'm not going to be that guy on stage in his 50s told me like, I still got it, you know, but I'll still train and live the lifestyle and be healthy, you know?
So how did you go from motocross to bodybuilding? What was the switch?
This is a funny story. So I loved dirt bikes since I was like 2, and I never gave up on it. My mom's like, dude, they don't make dirt bikes for little kids.
Mm.
And then one day I saw some kid with a bike in a park, and I go, Mom, look. And she's like, oh crap. So now he got me a bike. I got faster. I wanted to race, yada, yada, yada. But I wanted to be really good. And my parents hired a trainer, a motocross trainer. And this guy is like, he's like cross between an Oscar Arden and like a boot camp Jill Sargent. He got me good so fast. I went from novice to expert in under 1 year when I was 12 years old in the 80cc division. And he made me train. And it was more like CrossFit style, like cleans, overhead presses, 10 to 15 reps, faster pace. And my body changed really fast at age 12.
Yeah.
We're going to a pool party once, and someone's like, dude, you have like abs and like big arms. And I'm like, I didn't even know that was like a cool thing, you know?
Yeah.
Realize it. So then I wanted to train with weights more, and my trainer's like, listen, dummy, you can't be a bodybuilder and race motocross. Like, water, you got to run, bike, swim, and your only reason why you're weight training is to protect your back to prevent injury.
Yeah.
So I always wanted to bodybuild so bad, but I couldn't. And then right when I turned pro racing motocross when I was 21, and I did 1-2 pro races. I never qualified for nationals. I wasn't that good. And then I quit, sold everything. I'm like, I get to bodybuild now. I've been waiting to bodybuild.
You're waiting for it. Yeah.
So I went right into bodybuilding full core, halfway through 2004.
Do you think this might sound so stupid to a lot of people, but I feel like reinforcements we get when we're younger are what drive us when we're older. Do you think that pool party, since it still sticks out in your mind now, do you think that was possibly a driving force, like that instant gratification you got?
And I loved superheroes. I loved X-Men. I loved Superman. And I always thought, like, I'm kind of old school. Like, I always felt like men are supposed to be muscular. They're supposed to be strong. They're supposed to be like, the head of the household, not in the sense of like domineering, but you know what I mean? Like, they're supposed to take care of, like, be tough, be strong,
Yeah.
So I always wanted to be strong. I always wanted to be fit. And I was always into exercise and fitness and climbing ropes and arm wrestling in school. So I was always into that at a very young age.
So you're like a guy's guy. So how does today's day and age, how are you working with that?
Man, I don't know. It's so strange. It's very bizarre.
How are you working with, like, there's not 2 genders, there's more than 2 genders, and there's tons, not that I believe that, but that's seems to be the narrative nowadays. And how are you working with the way society is moving?
The thing is this, I don't care what you do with your body. I don't care how many genders, whatever. I can't stand the fact that, like, it's becoming if you make a mistake misgendering somebody, like, you could be in trouble or it's a bad thing. Like the other day I had a conversation with somebody and I was afraid to say his or her because it looked like a guy, but they were trying to be a girl. So I don't know if they were just trying to be, they want to identify as a woman or a male, but I didn't know what to say. So I just left it blank. I didn't say his or her.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. And like, I rather, you know what I mean? Like,
I agree. Do you think in that situation you should just ask?
Dude, I don't even, I could make it weirder. I don't know.
But how does your wife feel about that? Is she like an old school person like you, kind of like she enjoys the fact that you want to be the man of the house and all that?
Yeah, well, she's Greek. So, in Greek culture, it's more, men are the head of the household, like women have the roles that I don't have the roles. I couldn't possibly do the things that she does. There's some things that she couldn't possibly do that I do. And we work together as a team.
Yeah.
That's kind of,
How long have you been with your wife?
How long were we together, Lex? 5.5 years? Yeah, 5.5 years.
What did you guys, how long were you together before you were married?
How long were we together before we were married?
Maybe you should just bring her into the interview.
2 years.
2 years. So what, you just knew it was time, that was it?
I really did know with her. I was previously married before, and it was definitely not the right call. And I said to myself, I'll never get married ever again. There's no way in hell. And she came along, and I said to her when we first met, I go, I'm flat out telling you right now, I'm never getting married, so don't even try. Yeah, I was like, I laid down the law, like all these things, and she didn't get scared or run away. And I'm like, wow, this is weird. I'm like maybe on our first date, I should take her to McDonald's, because like maybe, and like we go to like some like random breakfast place. It was cheap. And we didn't go on like a really, really nice date for a while. And then she still stuck around. She was so much fun. I'm like, wow, this girl's legit. And then I started pulling out more tricks and stuff like that. I'm like,
so you did the opposite of what every other guy does. You're like, I'm going to try and be on my worst behavior and see if she sticks around, other than trying to be on your best behavior.
Yeah, you being somebody you're not, and you take her a 5-star. It's like, where do you go from there?
Yeah. So, but it worked. She found out who you were, and that was how it went along.
Yeah.
What are you guys going to have kids?
As of now, that's not in the cards. Maybe down the future, but as of now, that's not our focus.
It looks like you have a beautiful home. I watched one of your day in the life videos and all that, and you guys look like you have a lot of fun together. You also look like you work pretty hard. What, is coaching your main source of income, or do you have another job?
No, that's both of our main sources of income. It all started, being a coach and doing this at home was it happened by accident. So real quick, a quick synopsis, like go back to 2005, I did my first show, got smoked, picked up all Cheetos books, read them, and then prepped myself. And then I won my second show. Some kid at the gym goes, dude, you made major ground in a year. Do you think you can help me? And I said to him, not like today's day and age where everybody's a coach. And I'm like, listen, man, I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'll help you for $50. And then Tim, and he did well. And then his friend goes, hey man, you made some major ground from last time. What'd you do? He goes, well, I had this kid at the gym help me. He goes, do you think he can help me? And that started in 2005. And over 2005, that snowballed into the next person, the next person, the next person. I never intended it. It was just like side money for when I was in college, And then I went to school, nutrition, became a dietitian, came back. And then everybody was waiting for me to come back to help them with their preps and diet because I wasn't doing anything during my internship. Yeah. And then it started to get bigger and bigger and bigger. I worked at the hospital as a clinical dietitian for years. And then I had to go part-time. And then I quit and went full-time. And then my wife eventually quit and she became full-time. And now we both do this more than full-time.
Okay. So you skipped over a lot of stuff there. So when did you start going to school to be a registered dietitian? When did you start that?
Well, right after high school, I was still racing motocross, and that was my priority. I said, if I'm going to race and be a weirdo, live in my parents' basement, racing, being young is the time to do it. So I didn't go to college until 3 years after high school. And then in 2004, I started going to school to be a dietitian. Did my 4 years bachelor's.
So you went, one sec. So you did that 2005 show while you were at the university?
Correct.
And you got smoked, but you said you picked up Chris Aceto's books. So were you learning more from Chris Aceto's books, or were you learning more from your university studies?
University studies doesn't teach you, honestly, anything about fat loss. They're still in the whole thought process. They're so outdated. When I did it, it was like, all right, if you want to lose weight, you need to expend more calories than you take in. And then what you do is over 8 weeks, you'll lose 8 pounds. They don't know anything. They didn't learn any aspect of that at all.
Okay.
It's more like nutrition disease, how sugars work with diabetes, nutrition therapy, tube feeds, reading people's blood work, how much potassium they need in their TPN, that kind of stuff.
So what happens after university? Where do you go from there to become what degree is it? Like, what's it called exactly?
It's called nutrition and dietetics, or it's your didactic program, they call it. So it's your bachelor's in nutrition and dietetics. And then once you graduate, you get a certificate. Once you have a certificate, you have to apply for an internship, which they accept you, they don't accept you.
Where is the internship? At a hospital?
It's all over the country.
Okay.
Affiliated either with a college that goes in the hospital, but it's a series of rotations over a year where you 5 weeks in outpatient nutrition therapy, which is generally kind of like outpatient clinic of like weight loss, diabetes, or whatever. Or it might be at WIC or a renal unit, a dialysis unit. Be in clinical. We go to, the OB floor, for pregnancy, delivery, and we do different rotations over the 12 weeks. Similar concept to like a doctor doing rotation in different settings.
Okay, so you did that, and then after that, you worked at a hospital.
And then after that, you got to take the RD national exam. And then I started to work in my master's in nutrition and work at a hospital, correct.
And how long do you work at the hospital before you decided you want to be a full-time coach?
It's got at least 4 years.
Okay, what was working at the hospital as a dietitian like? Is it anything like helping people lose weight, or is it more health-wise?
It's all nutrition and education and nutrition-related disease, but it really varies from floor to floor. Like, obviously, you're in the ICU, you're not talking to any patients.
Yeah.
You're all intubated. So, like, it's more or less working with the team and looking at their blood work, making recommendations on their TPN, how many calories they need, how much D5, all that kind of stuff, which I thought was super cool because you implement their tube feed and you come back the next day and you look at their labs and you see how they changed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, this is cool. All right, we got to change this now. And the next day you come back, look at them again. So that was cool because it's not like they had poor adherence. It's like, oh, wait, you ate a donut? Oh, damn. You should have stayed on your plan. It's more like they got no choice because there's a nutrition. Yeah. And then you got the cancer floor. Cancer floor has been educating them, making sure they're getting enough nutrition, make sure they're not losing weight or becoming cacaxic, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. So, okay, what made you leave and go to full-time coaching? Was it just the amount of people asking you and you saw that there was a income stream there?
100%. The demand was out of control. I would get out of work and then I would work for 2 hours, go to the gym, and then work till 10 o'clock at night. And I'm like, geez, I can't do this. And then I started to realize how much money I was making. I'm like, geez, I was making more money coaching on the side, working 20 hours a week than I was 40 hours a week at the hospital.
Yeah.
So, well, maybe I could probably do this full time, which made me nervous because you're working for yourself.
Yeah.
I did that and it was fine. And then it kept growing and growing to the point where I was like, I can't even keep track of everything myself. Like I wasn't billing people. Lexia goes, my wife, when she started going home, she goes, you have about $16,000 of people owe you, right?
Are you serious?
I'm like, no, I didn't. She goes, you've been helping about 13 people for free. Like all these crazy things. Like yeah.
So how many clients were you training when you left the hospital? Like approximately?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe 60 or 70.
Okay. What do you charge monthly? Just for those who want to know.
For what? Everything's different. We have weight loss. We have nutrition disease. We have coaching for off-season bodybuilding. And we have coaching.
Wait a minute. You have nutrition disease? Like you'll just take somebody and help them like get healthy?
Oh, the majority of my clients are nutrition-related disease and weight loss.
Explain that to me. So like, is it bodybuilders or is it normal people or both?
Normal people. I do both.
Oh, okay. Okay. So they come to you with what? Like, just give me one example.
Managing diabetes, keeping their hemoglobin A1C down. I have a lot of people who try to make life insurance tests. They go, hey, I have to get my cholesterol down in 4 weeks to pass the test. Drop 10 pounds, and I'll change their diet all around and give them a protocol and get their LDL to drop like 80 points to make their life insurance exam.
Man, I have so many questions. Okay, so I watched your videos. I watched some of your day in the life videos. I watched a few of your cooking videos. And I noticed that you're very big on micronutrients, which is a good thing. But I feel like, I'm included in this group, a lot of bodybuilders don't care about micronutrients. They just want to get the macro count down. How much do you think, like when you're training your clients, how much do you think a bodybuilder's physique can change when they focus on micronutrients more?
Oh, I don't think you can make that black and white answer. Now, for example, like I like to make a relative, I guess you could say it this way, all right? So if somebody's eating 150 grams of carbs a day at low, and say they're a decent sized guy, I would make sure the majority of those carbohydrates are coming from nutrient dense sources. As soon as the carbs keep getting greater and greater and greater, the percent of simple carbs, cream of rice, cakes, white rice keeps going up and up and up because we already have enough micronutrients in the diet.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you start getting low calories and people are just eating chicken, rice, and not eating vegetables, and they're eating oil, like no wonder they feel like crap and they have low energy and they can't lose fat. They're deficient in everything else. Sure that there's enough base micronutrients first before I start adding everything else.
Okay, I guess what you're saying makes sense, but I guess I'll have to parse it out this way. Because what you described there was almost like an off-season program, and then you described a pre-contest program. So I'll parse it out this way. So for myself, for example, I noticed that my off-season training is better when I'm adding things like one of your favorite, I noticed one of your favorite things is avocados. So when I'm adding things like avocados, when I'm on my vitamin and mineral regimen, when I'm eating more vegetables and more fruits throughout the day, I notice that I'm healthier and I feel better in the gym, and lifting feels better. My joints feel better. Like everything just feels better.
100%.
I never took that into account coming up as a bodybuilder. I just like, okay, I need my steak. I need my fucking potato. I'm going to squirt a shitload of barbecue sauce on it and I'm good.
Yeah.
And so do you think if someone's focused on the numbers, let's say somebody's focused on, I want my bench to get better. Do you think focusing on those micronutrients can help that? Or is it more a body composition thing?
It absolutely will help that. There's no question about it. Because, so much research in my master's with cancer survivor mortality, morbidity rate shows that people who eat a balanced diet are much more likely to survive terminal illnesses than people who eat a diet more deficient micronutrients and take vitamins. It doesn't work the same. So they theorize that there's some sort of synergistic effect that food adds together that makes the body stronger and recover better. Do I have the exact answer? No, I'm not going to shoot out weird random theories if it's not proven yet, but I do believe that there's a certain percent, whatever percent that might be, should be of micronutrient dense foods. And obviously, if you're trying to gain more weight after the fact, you should be adding obviously other easier to eat things that may necessarily not contain the micronutrients. So I believe everybody's diet should have some degree of a variety of fruits and vegetables. Like the typical bodybuilding diet is horrid. And no wonder so many people have GI issues, because what do you think happens to the GI when you're just slamming straight rice and chicken and beef all the time, So
how do you square this with people that are having great success with just chicken and rice?
Well, I mean, if they have great success with chicken and rice, then they can keep doing chicken and rice. But like, as you know, genetics reign supreme on everything. I mean, I've seen people one damn meal a day of fast food and they're benching 4 or 5 or 10 reps,
Yeah.
You can do that. And some people don't seem to be affected as much by others. So usually I become more practical. Somebody comes to me with a terrible diet and I'm like, and they're working great, then I'll work off their diet and maybe just add a few extra things, not take their diet and dump it upside down and eat carrots, spinach, and tomatoes all day long. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And work from a progression. Or if they come to me and they're like, I'm eating hot sauce, rice, and chicken and beef, I feel like shit, my GI sucks, and then I'll flip it upside down.
Yeah. So when you formulate, if a new client comes to you and or even old clients, when you're formulating their diets, do you have a set amount of micronutrients you're trying to put into their diet? Or are you just saying, I want you to have a fruit of your choice, I want you to have it, or do you have specific things that you want them to have every day?
Yeah, it's more like specific things that have every day. And like, as you know, a lot of people's adherence to diets are very poor. So you really got to work with what they're going to do, not necessarily what's the most optimal, unless they say to me, Chris, I'll do everything you tell me to do, no matter what. It doesn't matter. That's a different case. But, I usually say, man, I want at least 2 or 3 fruit portions a day, which to me, a portion is 15 grams of carbs.
Can you tell me, before we go on, let's parse this out for people that are listening. Why do you want them to have 2 or 3 portions of fruit a day?
Oh, because of the micronutrients in the fruit. It's an easier to eat carbohydrate. It actually helps digestion. Like apples contain sorbitol, can help you go to the bathroom. It's a good source of fiber. They're relatively cheap. They're very easy to eat. It adds more palatability to different foods. If you're going to add in like a few fresh strawberries to your oatmeal, or if you're going to mash in banana into your cream of rice, where you get some more potassium in. It's other things to kind of enhance flavors besides just eating plain stuff. And versus having somebody take, a sugar-free jam that's loaded with Splenda that doesn't contain any fruit at all, and they're adding that for the flavor. I'd rather them have something that adds other flavor. I mean,
how do you feel about those people that say fructose is bad for you? It's stored in the liver, blah, blah, blah.
they are completely incorrect. If you're consuming a large quantity, to consume enough fructose from fruit to jam out your liver, you'd be having to eat like 2 pounds of pineapple a day. 50% of fructose in fruit. It's like anywhere from 5 to 15%. Now, if you go down the street and you go to the gas station and you buy Sour Patch Kids, a couple things like that, you're ingesting more fructose in that bag of Sour Patch Kids than you are if you ate a pound of pineapple.
I don't think people think that. I don't think people realize that, eh?
No, people have no idea. This is the thing. You know, you asked me before, like in the dietitian school, did you learn a lot and how it applies to bodybuilding? No, but what school and education does teach you is really how to feed through the bullshit.
Okay.
I could give people a bogus study that says fish oil causes cancer. And 90% of the people I hand it to, they're like, oh my God, I have to stop taking this. It's
Okay.
like, no, read the study a little more carefully.
Yeah.
The study's totally bogus.
Okay.
Pick up stuff on one study and they look at it. Just like, as you know, like medicine, like you can't take one study and be like, oh, eggs cause increase in serum cholesterol. It's a little more complicated than that.
Yeah.
So people, especially bodybuilders, which is weird, it's like they can't wait to get out of their show backstage. They're eating a bunch of junk and candy, but they're going to sit there and tell me that fruit causes me to have a messed up liver.
Yeah. I just read an article by Brad Schoenfeld, who's a PhD. I don't know if you know who that is, but
Yep. Oh yeah.
and he talked about antioxidants affecting muscle growth.
Yeah.
I noticed a lot of companies put antioxidants in their pre-workout formulas or their intra-workout formulas. How do those two mix? Like, do you even agree with that, or is that something you don't agree with?
No, it is true. It is true. Just like how they say taking NSAIDs will negate muscle gains because it dampers the inflammatory response.
Yeah.
You need an inflammatory response for them to have an adaptation.
Yeah.
So like when
wait, before you go on, I want people to understand what you just said, because that's actually a major point, because I know a lot of guys will get home after like a leg day with like sore legs or sore whatever, and they'll pop an Advil.
the worst thing you can do.
Can you explain to them, you don't have to explain to them the mechanisms of it, but can you just tell them that why that's bad?
All right. So one thing, NSAIDs are one of the worst things you can ever take for an athlete. One, it damages your stomach lining and your intestinal tract, causes stomach ulcers, one, and it dampers the inflammatory response. So obviously if you're under pain, you're reducing swelling, it works great for limiting pain. But research has shown it actually delays healing. It might make you feel better temporarily. Overall duration of time, it can actually delay healing, especially in tendons and things like that. Ice is a better way to go. And more importantly, making sure your mechanics are correct, making sure your muscles are loose so your body's working properly, and then using other mechanisms to control that type of inflammation, more environmental instead of systemic.
Mm-hmm.
You need an inflammatory response to have a response to adapt.
Okay.
I just read actually a bunch of information on NSAIDs in athletes on how detrimental it is to Olympic athlete who take Advil prior, during, and after, how it like destroyed their stomach, hurt their performance, delayed recovery over a longer period of time at the end of the study. Yeah, it makes you fine the next day, but other than that, it's not the way to go.
So going back to the antioxidants, if Brad Schoenfeld's article was right, or it wasn't a study he cited, it was just an article he wrote, but how does that affect, okay, if you're saying antioxidants affect muscle growth, why are we jamming our oatmeal with blueberries, and like, why are we trying to get as many antioxidants as we can? Or is it only antioxidants around training?
Around training.
Oh, okay.
This is where things get complicated, right? So it's like, okay, we want to hinder muscle growth. See, that's where people go from one extreme to the other, right? So you don't want to leave the gym and start taking 2,000 milligrams of vitamin C and loading up on vitamin E and all these antioxidants in mega doses. That's what you don't want to do. you're not going to get 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C in like 50 grams of blueberries. You know what I mean?
That's right. I see what you're saying.
Right. It's just not going to happen. But most of the time, your post-workout nutrition should just be carbs, protein anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And you should still have your fruits and your vegetables, but there's a huge difference between fruits and vegetables and mega dosing in vitamins and minerals.
Yeah. Yeah.
Different.
So can you explain, well, I don't know if you can explain, but where does the thought process come of having antioxidants loaded in our pre, intra, and post-workout products?
I have no idea. Marketing ploy. It just looks more bang for your buck. They're like, wow, this is caffeine and it's got 5,000 milligrams of vitamin C. That doesn't need to be vitamin C either. I don't need to buy that. I can get it all in one. Because I hear that all the time.
Yeah.
I want to get that because it has everything in one product.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, that's not how it works.
How do you feel about caffeine? Because I know a lot of kids, or I don't want to say kids, but a lot of guys are like, they work full-time jobs and they're tired and they really focus on the stim aspect of their pre-workouts. And how do you feel about like some of these pre-workouts are loaded like 400 milligrams of caffeine per serving, and that, how do you feel about the caffeine loading or the stimulant loading that these people are doing before their workouts? Do you think it's good or bad?
All right. Well, let's break one thing. There's a big difference between drinking a cup of coffee or maybe taking 100 to 200 milligram caffeine tablet versus taking like 5 scoops of NO Explode and becoming all cracked out before the gym. Now, being overstimulated and stimulating your sympathetic nervous system in overdrive is 110% detrimental to building muscle. It just is. And, you just kind of like when you're in the gym, your sympathetic nervous system is stimulated. And when you get out of the gym, you want to go back into rest and digest so you can recover. If you're constantly up, your recovery is decreased. And then stimulants and you can't sleep. Now your REM sleep's off. Now your recovery's worse. And the next day you go, geez, I'm really tired. Maybe I'll do a pre-workout before work. I have people who do that. And I'm like, you can't do that. So I had to make a little thing in my program saying they have to limit how much stimulants they use. And this is the other aspect. And this carried me a long way. I think it might have been Conor McGregor trainer, another one trainer, UFC fighter says he does not allow his fighters to use stimulants ever. And they go, why? He goes, because it makes you mentally weak.
Shit.
He goes, if you're used to using a drug to reduce your perceived of exertion, you're relying on something to make you feel better than you actually are. What you should be learning is how to push through discomfort and fatigue to become mentally tougher. And then in a fight, if you want to use it, but you train without it.
I see. So where does that put you? Where does that put you on the pre-workout formula spectrum? Like, do you use pre-work? You don't use them? You don't use any kind of stimulant, nothing?
I drink my cup of coffee. I have a cup of coffee in the morning. I wake up, I do emails. I have a cup of coffee with my wife and we eat breakfast, and that's it.
How do you feel about nootropics?
I don't know as much about them to comment. If I don't know something, I don't want to say anything about it. I don't really know. I can't really say anything negative or positive or whatnot.
So I guess I disagree with the UFC fighter coach in one way. The caffeine situation to me is, I don't think it makes you weak to use caffeine. The problem with caffeine for me is it has so many negative effects on the body when taken in high amounts.
Correct. Right.
That's my problem.
About dosing too. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like when you're 200 milligrams, you're not that bad. But when you're 400 milligrams, now you're talking about high blood pressure. You're talking about affecting your kidneys. You're talking about like a number of different things and affecting your sleep and all that. So that's more my problem, because that's why I feel like the nootropics are a good option, because they don't raise blood pressure. They don't raise heart rate, but they do kind of give you that mental clarity, mental focus.
Right. Like T-Cream. You ever heard T-Cream?
Yep.
Yeah, I think that is one that's pretty mild central nervous system stimulatory effect, but still gives you a better drive and energy. But let me tell you this, right? Have you ever had a bad leg day outside of prep where you left the gym and you like, outside of say strength lifts or PRs, where you actually felt that was a bad workout?
Yeah. I mean, of course, in 20 years, I've had those.
I see. This is why I look at it. And a lot of times when people go to the gym, I feel like a lot of people, not everybody, want to feel that instantaneous pumped up as they walk into the gym. When I always know after 10 minutes of warm-up cardio, after 2 sets, I feel great. In the middle of the workout, better. So when I do legs, I feel like sometimes legs is so demanding. Even if I walk in exhausted, after like that first crazy set, I'm like, ooh, I feel much better now. I just got to get to that point. You know what I mean? So that's what I always rely on in my head.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. I recently, I've been put on a protocol to lower my blood pressure a little bit. It was a little higher than I'd like. And the person put me on a 0 caffeine program. And it was like a huge blow to me because I'm used to doing a coffee in the morning, then a pre-workout before my training. And I'm just used to a lot of caffeine all the time, which I know is not bad, but I just do it anyway. I don't know why. I just got, you get in that habit.
Yeah.
And the first couple of days I was like, man, it's kind of hard to get like going, but it's been a couple weeks now and I feel better than I've felt in a long time.
Yeah.
And my stomach, actually my waist feels tighter. Like my body feels like it's functioning better. There's just so many things. My sleep has been better. So I just didn't realize how much of effect it was having on me.
And this is one aspect, and like I'll cap it off on this last thing I'm going to say is, when your sympathetic stimulants stimulate your sympathetic nervous system, when that's stimulated, it directly affects digestion. Just like people with IBS, it's called the nervous person's disease. Mm-hmm. The anxious. I'm like, you're never going to meet a very calm, laid back person who has IBS,
Yeah.
And like, just to cap it off, so like to summarize to people how I really feel about stimulants is, I think they have their use. Are they great at decreasing rate of perceived exertion? Yes. Can they be useful? Yes. Can they be used and still build muscle? Yes. But the problem is when people start to become dependent on them and then they get tired and they use more and more and more and more, that is where it becomes, the double-edged sword, the detrimental. I feel like there's a therapeutic range that people can benefit and that's it. But like, I know a lot of people who are like, oh, I just do 5 scoops. Or I do a Monster Energy at noon, and then I do a Red Bull at 3, and then I do pre-workout at night. Now you're going too far.
Yeah, and I think that's where I got. I think I got to the point where I was tired and I was taking caffeine, and I'm like, I need more caffeine. Yeah. And I'm like, and it's just wreaking havoc on my body, and I didn't even. Yeah. So okay. So one of the things you said was you make sure they have 3 pieces of fruit in a day. What is another thing that you want to make sure people have that you're training in their day in their off season?
Vegetables. I usually will give them vegetables that are more tolerated, less gas forming. So I usually just tell people they shouldn't eat broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, even though they're for you. They're gas forming, they're cruciferous. So if you're eating, the thing about this too, bodybuilders, what do? They go to like their discount bulk store and they buy a 10-pound bag of broccoli, and then they eat broccoli 5 times a day every day.
That was me.
Right. We all do that because it's convenient and fast. So I usually have them do wilted fresh spinach, carrots, grape tomatoes, zucchini, romaine lettuce. And, if they're not into vegetables and they hate vegetables, I just tell them, dude, just take a handful of spinach and wilt it down into a little bit of coconut oil, add a little salt, and then add it to 2 meals a day if they hate veggies. And if they like veggies, then I give them a limit because some people go crazy and then they're constipated and gassy.
Okay. So veggies, fruit. How many servings of veggies you say?
If they hate veggies, I try to get them to compromise on at least 2 servings a day.
Okay.
If they like veggies, I tell them, if they're doing 6 meals a day, at least 3 or 4, because obviously in the off season, you're trying to eat a lot of food and you're eating a lot of veggies. Your fiber intake is going to be relatively high, and that can affect appetite and your digestion and bloating.
So explain that to people, because I know a lot of people, especially with some of the more recent trends, are all about fiber. Oh, you need fiber. Fiber's healthy. Fiber keeps your cholesterol down. Fiber this, fiber that. Not a lot of people realize that too much fiber can be as detrimental as little. Can you explain kind of how that works and why it's a bad thing to have too much?
Too much of anything's bad. And like, just like in a bodybuilder's diet, like, we're not consuming 2,000 calories a day. So we're going to be exceeding the recommended allowance of, 25 to 35 grams of fiber per day. So, you're eating 4,000 or 5,000 calories and you're trying to get in 400 to 800 carbohydrates a day. Inevitably, your fiber intake's going to start creeping up there. And if you're doing veggies and fruit and potatoes, you could easily hit 75, 100, 150 grams of fiber a day.
Sorry to interrupt you. What's a good amount of fiber per day that's like healthy and it's not going to affect you stomach wise?
I personally like to say 15 grams of fiber per 1,000 calories.
Okay. So if I'm doing 5,000 calories, we're talking 75 grams.
Right. And then if that becomes a problem, like if you're like, man, I'm having like bowel issues, then we'll be like, oh, maybe we need to scale the fiber back a little bit.
Okay.
Or sometimes you need to change the type of fiber because fiber in veggies is not as tolerated as in fiber in fruit. Like you could eat 25 grams of fiber in fruit and be pooping like a champ. And then you eat the same amount of fiber in like broccoli and like you're bound up. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Things that are a little different.
So I think we maybe skipped over it. What's the worst reason why not to have too much fiber? Because the reason I've always been told is if you have too much fiber, it's slowing down your digestion. Let's say I have a ton of fiber in one meal. It's going to slow down my digestion. I'm not going to be able to get in the next meal.
Yep.
So is that one of the main reasons?
Yeah. Well, there's many reasons. One, it draws a lot of fluid into the intestinal tract. So you can feel a lot of stomach distension. One, okay. Too much fiber can give you gas. Too much fiber can also prevent absorption of medications, drugs, and other nutrients. Okay. So you ever sometimes read labels of certain drugs, it will say, make sure you do not take near a fiber supplement. Okay. Or make sure you don't take near a high fiber food because the high fiber will just take everything along with it. Mm-hmm. And absorption of some things. That's how it kind of blocks cholesterol. It takes it along with it. So there's that, there's like catch-22. And then the same spectrum of not having enough fibers, now you're having too much contact of carcinogens and contaminants in the intestinal tract and touching the wall. So you increase your risk of cancer. And then you can get constipated, bound up, and obviously the cholesterol benefits. The cholesterol lowering benefits.
So we got the fruits, vegetables. Is there something else on the micronutrient side or that you would recommend in somebody's daily diet?
And if we're talking about bodybuilders, like I really say is you try to get the most nutrient dense foods that has the least amount of volume. So like there's certain obviously vegetables that don't have a lot of micronutrients, but have a lot of volume. So I say, stick with spinach because like I said, you could take a large spinach and wilt it to nothing.
Yeah.
A few baby carrots, you could take a few tomatoes, and you can have a little good spectrum of micronutrient dense foods in such a small amount.
Now, wait a minute. When you wilt down, I saw the way you wilt down your spinach. For those of you who don't know, just type in Chris Tuttle on YouTube and you'll get like his day in the life videos and that. And you can see kind of how he cooks his food there. But I noticed that you wilt down the spinach in the frying pan. Don't you lose any of the nutrients when you're doing that or no?
No, that's when you boil it. When you boil it, you can lose B vitamins. B vitamins, when you cook them, can destroy them like diamond, but at high heat. But actually, your body absorbs and digests spinach better when it's cooked versus uncooked.
So as long as they're not boiling, is steaming okay?
Yeah, steaming's fine. And the other aspect is this, cooking the crap out of it,
Yeah.
They're like roasting in high heat for like 25 minutes. Yeah. You're going to destroy a lot. But if you're just, low, medium heat, wilt it down, pull it right off.
Okay. Now on the macronutrient side, I personally noticed in my own diets that high fat works better for me in the off season. Like I gain more muscle.
100%.
Okay. Because of it's weird. Like the fat trend got really popular and now I notice a lot more bodybuilders are going back to protein and carbs only. And I've always noticed that I don't get the same pumps and I don't get the same growth in the off season unless I have a lot of healthy fats.
And you feel like shit if you're on a low fat diet.
So is that kind of the way you coach your clients? Are they on higher fat diets?
I don't have any one philosophy with my clients. I really don't. Again, I have to, you know how it is. You got to work sometimes with somebody with what they're going to do and what they like.
Okay. Let's broaden it then for people listening. Do you agree with having a good amount of fats in your off season for growth?
Yes, 100%. Anywhere from 10 to 20 grams of added fat for me.
Okay. So Any 10 to 20 of added fat. So if you're having a steak and potato, are you still adding fat, or is that enough fat because of the steak?
Enough because of steak, and most likely. I mean, if it's a situation where they're preferring to buy 96% lean ground beef, then I might need to add a teaspoon of oil. But I might add it so the meal is anywhere from 15 to 25 grams of fat total. And I might need to supplement it for I have, but I'm not adding, obviously.
So I think an easier way for people to understand it might be if we say, you said 15 to 25 grams of fat per meal.
Correct.
So if the steak you're having has 25 grams of fat in it, don't add anything to it.
Correct.
Okay. So on the carb end, because what I do when I do higher fats is I always reduce my carbs a little bit.
Yep.
Are you still doing high carbs with your high fats or?
I guess you could say on average, I'll see what they're doing, but generally I might start them on maybe 45 grams of carbs per meal.
Okay.
See how they tolerate it. And then as they start to go about, they're like, man, like I really like carbs. I might add a little more. If they say to me, these carbs are hard to get down, I might add more calories and fats instead. But carbs might go from 30 per meal to 90 per meal for certain people. I have two guys who are really big. I mean, not big to your standard, but like big for my clientele. And he was eating 120 grams of carbs per meal with 20 grams of fat added per meal.
Yeah.
But it's individual case.
I think I'm adding, I went to a place where I'm adding more fat and less carbs. Like, this is what happened. I was doing a lot of carbs and not a lot of fat. And I noticed my stomach distension was worse.
Yeah.
Like I was doing like between 100 to 150 grams per meal.
Yeah.
And when I reduced, I work with John Meadows, and John's like, let's reduce your carbs, but double your fats. So my fats are probably around 40 grams per meal almost.
Yeah.
But my stomach feels way better.
Way better.
Like my pumps are still great. Like I don't feel like I need any more carbs, but I just overall feel better and my stomach feels better.
Yeah. And all the anti-inflammatory effects of them. Like when I have people try to make their life insurance plan by lowering their lipids and their triglycerides, and I'll cut their carbs to like 15 per meal and it'll just be fruit. And then I'll jack their monounsaturated fats up of avocado, olive oil, mac oil, almonds, and their lipid profile changes within like 7 days.
Okay. So I'm not on the wrong track then. Not that John would steer me wrong, but
carbs are so inflammatory. They are inflammatory. You ever notice this? You ever notice sometimes in prep, like your aches and pains kind of go away?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then 3 weeks post show, you're just an inflammatory mess.
Yeah.
Oh my God, all my tendonitis came right back. Like wreaking havoc on everything.
Yeah. So, okay. One of the interesting things I heard in your videos was that you only used to do 4 ounces of protein per meal.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not going to disagree with you about it, but I do want to ask you, do you think had you tried to go into like the upper weight classes or like the open class of bodybuilding, do you think you would go into the 8 ounces, 10 ounce portion of protein, or do you just don't think the body needs it?
Well, I'll give you a recap. So like I've always had the understanding from school kind of tainted my view, just bodybuilders and whoever, like when you have a preconceived notion of this, you're supposed to do, it's hard to break that. So, given the protein requirements I learned in school, I'm like, and then the protein requirements bodybuilders are eating, I'm like, there's just no way I need this. So I kind of compromised. So instead of eating 3 ounces per meal, I'm like, you know what, I'm going to do 4.5. And I did it. And every year I was jumping 10, 12 pounds of stage weight. So I'm like, well, if it's working, I'm just going to keep it. And then eventually I did go higher. I went up to 8 ounces per meal. It did nothing but make me feel like shit and slow my digestion. And I was spending too much money.
Okay.
Then I ended up lowering it down to 6 ounces per meal. And for me, that was kind of like the happy medium.
I'm not going to mention the coach, but at one point in my career, I was eating 12 ounces cooked.
Oof.
Per meal.
That's a lot of money.
So it was a lot of money. Okay. So for those listening, what do you think? Let's put it more in a gram per pound situation. What do you think? How much, like a 1 gram per pound of body weight, or what are we talking about with the protein requirement?
I think if we could say, we'll just call this, if somebody's of reasonable body fat level, because obviously not obese, I think it's reasonable to say to a gram and a half is a reasonable amount of protein per body weight if they're not fat.
Okay, now that per body weight or per lean body mass?
Per body weight. So like if
Okay.
you have a 200-pound bodybuilder and he's pretty lean, you've anywhere from like 8 to say 15%, I could say comfortable. I could understand doing 1 gram per pound or a gram and a half. I know in our field, nutrition field, it's much different. 1.5 to 2.2 per kilogram of body weight, which is less than that.
Yeah.
But that's fine. I think people doing 500 grams and they're a middleweight, I just think is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I hear things all the time. One of the reasons why I said that in the video is my clients goes, all these guys at the gym are telling me it's impossible for anybody to gain muscle on anything less than 5 ounces of protein. I'm like, that's the dumbest black and white thing I think I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
You can't say that. You know what I mean?
You can't.
You get a chick who's 5 feet and she's going to eat 5 ounces of protein. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. So what do you think about, I want to know what you think about stomach distension from a health standpoint. How does somebody with a distended stomach or is having stomach distension issues, how do you solve that with your clients?
I think it's a multifaceted issue. One, it's a postural thing when someone has anterior tilt to their pelvis, a very, very, very tightened psoas, very weak core musculature. I think that becomes a huge problematic issue that causes stomach to be distended and lean forward. Kind of like when you see, when you see like a young kid on the beach, real young, like talking about 3, and there's their belly sticking out and it's distended, back's arched, very similar to like a bodybuilder. Very core, it's sticking forward. And of course, the quantity of food you have to eat. You're eating so much food, it's kind of like after Thanksgiving meal. It's like you're going to walk around holding your stomach in. Your stomach just wants to stick out.
Yeah.
Eat so much food. But I think bodybuilders in general don't know how to train their core, as in core stability, not train abs, core stability.
Yeah.
I mean, how many powerlifters do you see now deadlifting 800 plus pounds and their waist is tiny?
Yeah.
So it's not deadlifting and squatting. It's the quality of food. And obviously powerlifters are all about core strength, not ab stuff. People can confuse when I go, hey, you train core? Like, yeah, I do sit-ups. I'm like, that doesn't train your core.
So wait a minute. When you're saying core, you're talking about like it's your TVA, your transverse abdominis. Is that what you're talking about?
Not just your transverse abdominis, like everything involved in a plank, an ab roller. So like training your core is basically training your spine to stay in neutral position with external resistance, like a plank, like an ab roller, because the core musculature is designed to stabilize your spine under tension. Core musculature is not like, you're not going to be doing sit-ups with 400 pounds. All the core works the best when your spine's neutral.
Yeah.
A lot of bodybuilders cave,
Yeah. Do you think, we hear this all the time. Do you think it's GH and insulin?
No, I don't think so. Because I know some people who use a god-awful amount of growth in insulin and their waist is tiny. Because if that, you would see it happen to almost everybody. But this is the thing, right? So if someone's taking a bunch of growth in insulin, you got to feed that insulin.
That's the problem, I think.
As you're ingesting a ton of food. Yeah. So people
it's not even just food. It's you're ingesting a ton of sugar. It's even worse.
Worse.
Yeah. I think there was one off season where I personally hate insulin. Okay. Like I don't like it. I don't feel good on it. None of that. But there was 100%. one year where I had a coach that recommended I try it. And I did it. And every time I did it, I had to ingest like 100 grams of sugar. And I'm like, every time I did it, I felt horrible. And I think that was the year my stomach grew the most, but it wasn't from the insulin. It was because every time I had to have that sugar meal, I was so fucking bloated. So, but I just haven't, people message me all the time and they're like, do you think I should add insulin? Do you think? I'm like, you just don't need it. You just don't need it.
No, I agree. I can't believe I hear the protocols of people doing like 50 units of Humalog pre-workout with 150 carbs. I'm like, you don't feel like death? I'm like, what the hell? It's crazy.
But it's not even, if you feel like death, but you're making the progress, that's one thing. You're like, okay, well, I'm going to sacrifice my health. Not that that's a good thing, but some people think, okay, I'm going to sacrifice my health to get huge. I don't really notice the benefits from it. I just feel like I get fatter, and then once I get off, I lose a lot of water weight, and I don't really feel like I get bigger from it.
Right. And this is the other thing, right? So, in Olympic athletes, when cyclists who are cranking 80 to 90% intensity for a full 60 minutes, not absorb any more than a gram of carb per minute when it was just sugar. If they combine fructose, they could absorb more because it's a different pathway of absorption. But so a bodybuilder is not burning 60 grams of sugar in an hour of training arms.
Yeah.
You are just feeding the insulin and jamming into fat cells, saturating things, and you're basically just making sure you cover everything. I don't think 150 grams of carbs training arms I think it's ridiculous.
Okay, let's delete the insulin from the equation. How do you feel about pre, intra, post carbs?
I've read some research with weight training, legitimate research. And it does show to increase protein synthesis, delay fatigue, delay muscle, mental fatigue from exhaustion, and things like that. Is it going to equate to an increased lean body mass over 12 weeks, provided that you have enough adequate nutrition? I don't see that happening. Mm-hmm. If you're in prep and I got to make sure I ration and time my carbohydrates around training to give me fuel, I could understand the rationale behind that. But if you're ingesting an adequate amount of calories per day, adding extra intra is really not going to be that beneficial, because as you know, it's like if you have a cheat meal last night, today's workout's going to be pretty good, right?
Yeah.
Not like I'm going to take this, I'm like, oh my God, I feel a humongous difference.
Yeah.
Especially in the fed state.
So I agree with it. I agree with you 100% on everything you said. There's only one aspect that you didn't mention was if I'm taking in pre and intra nutrition, let's say with a pre-workout or an intra workout that has different pump ingredients in it, would the carbs pre or intra help shuttle those nutrients faster?
Well, that's a good question. Would it shuttle it faster? I don't know. I mean, think about it. If the pre-workout meal, or actually probably not the pre-workout meal, but the meal before that, depending what it was, is already circulating through your system in your blood. Mm-hmm. So it's not like, say if you ate a solid rice and chicken 2 hours before training, it's not like that is going to be in your bloodstream used while training,
no,
right?
That's not what I mean. Let's say you took a pre-workout that was loaded in citrulline.
Okay, yeah.
Right? And you want things to work better, or you want the glycogen that you're using during your workout also to be restored. Wouldn't a little bit of carbs intra-workout help that, or is that just you're kind of wasting your time?
I don't think it's going to help restore glycogen. I think it's more or less going to prevent glycogen depletion because your body has a source right away.
Okay. But that's kind of the same thing, no? I mean,
yeah. Get it? Yeah. I mean, in theory, I still like the idea of going to the gym, drinking water, and depleting and then feeding. It's kind of like now your body's empty, insulin sensitivity is super high. Now your body goes dry sponge and soak it up instead of giving yourself an IV of food all day long. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So you don't prescribe to the pre-workout, intra-workout products at all, none of them.
Oh, for some people I do. Okay. Some people I don't personally. I usually ask them, oh, you've been using this. Do you like it? Do you feel like it has benefited from you? And they go, well, since I started, I noticed I get more pumps and I feel less sore. Whether that's true or not, I'm going to keep it.
The placebo effect matters, right?
100%.
Yeah. How do you feel about, I want to know how you feel about ice, because ice has been on my brain lately, because I've talked to other people that say ice is just in your head and it doesn't actually do anything. But it's actually
icing your body parts?
Yeah, like icing after, say your knees are sore or whatever, using ice to reduce inflammation and things like that.
I mean, I use ice on my knees and I noticed a huge difference, massive difference actually. But I do understand what you're talking about, because I know in Chinese medicine, they don't use ice at all.
Yeah.
Use Chinese medicine. And some people believe that it's not, but I do believe ice baths help hinder pain, because I could be way off on this. I do believe that extreme cold dampers some sort of inflammatory effect in the body, or releases endorphins to help prevent pain. So I don't know if it's actually helping you heal or it's just making you feel better.
That was the debate we were having. He was saying that it will make you feel better, but it's not actually reducing inflammation.
Yeah.
But
I could totally see that.
But I don't know if that's true, because I used to do ice baths every week religiously after my leg days. And I specifically remember those were the best feeling. Like, I'm not talking the day of, I mean, even the day after or the next time I went to train, things just felt better.
Yeah.
So I always feel like it's a positive thing to be doing. You know what I mean?
I ice my knees on and off 30 minutes for like 3 or 4 hours after I train legs every week. Mm-hmm. And notice the next day when I get out of bed, I'm not like, ooh. It actually feels much less stiff.
Yeah. So going back to the insulin thing, or the drug aspect, what do you think? I noticed that the North Americans, not everybody was in the best condition. I don't know if it's the lighting or what it is. You were there, so you could see, obviously. So I don't know. I feel like, are guys using too much drugs and it's affecting their look? And I'm not trying to say they're lazy. I'm saying sometimes I think when you use too much drugs, you have a different look. You just don't get that really crisp look.
I have to say, being in the crowd and seeing the pictures, like a couple people were like, oh, so-and-so was off. I'm like, no, they definitely weren't. You weren't there.
Oh, okay.
Show. But I mean, in consensus, I know what you're saying, that, in past shows, I've seen much gnarlier condition. I know what you're talking about, but I do believe people's use of drugs, PEDs today, is just the standard. The normal standards become so high that that's what people think that you need to do.
Yeah.
And normal standard of high, the normal standard is like high what it was 10 years ago. You know what I mean? It keeps like going up and up and up and up.
What do you think normal is? Like, let's take like test, for example. What's a normal range for either a top amateur or any pros that you might, well, let's not talk about anybody but what do you think is a normal range for guys on an upper level?
Normal range of what they're doing or what they should be doing?
Both, actually. That's interesting that you put it that way.
Well, it's funny. I know more amateurs that take much more than pros do.
Yeah.
So anywhere from 750 to 1250 tests per week. I would think that it was kind of like a range that most people fall under.
Yeah.
I know people at my local gym who are taking 2 grams of test per week and they compete as a middleweight. And they look at me and they go, "You must be on a lot of crap." Oh, Jesus.
What do you think about SARMs? Because SARMs are like the new thing, and people are stacking them with their steroids, and people are doing them as bridging mechanisms. And I don't see it.
I don't see it either. And like Evan says to me, he goes, "Why is everybody who's always an advocate of SARMs never big?" And yeah. He goes, I don't see them jumping weight classes every year. Yeah. But I'm not into them. When clients come to me on them and they go, "What do you guys should do with them?" I'm like, "Do what you want, dude." Because I don't know anything about them, nor do I like them. I don't condone them. And in the States, it's like 80% are garbage anyway.
Yeah. What about peptides? How do you feel about peptides?
Are we including growth in that?
No, because growth is actually like, if you get real growth, it actually does something.
Right. Okay. So I'm not an advocate of peptides either. I just think the quality, consistency of them being produced in the States varies so greatly that it's not necessarily something that people should be jumping into. Not to mention there's not a ton of research. I do know a lot of people who've used them and they go, "Oh, my joint pain's better. My tendons are healing." Great. I've tried a couple of them. It didn't do anything to me. So I'm going to sit there and just poke myself with some random crap that's not necessarily going to work.
Yeah. I had the same experience. I've tried when I tore my tricep. People kept on saying, "Get the TB 500 and the BPC this and that." And I'm like, okay. I tried them before when I had a hamstring tear. And I'm like, I don't notice any less pain or any faster healing. I just don't get it. So it's not something I use.
And this is what I tell people, which I don't get. if those things really worked, drug companies are greedy as fuck.
Yeah.
If that worked, they would market that and they would sell it for like $500 a shot.
Yeah.
It would be everywhere. Athletes would be using it. It would be like mainstream. Because let me tell you, the FDA finds something that works, they're going to make money. They're going to steal that and patent and start arresting people for selling it.
Yeah. Well, the other thing I tell people is it wouldn't be so cheap. Like people are like, oh, I can get IGF from this company for like $100. And I'm like,
oh, oh gosh.
All right. Let's move on. Let's move on to something else. You said that I wanted to touch on, and I won't keep you too much longer, but you said in your video something about growing. Somebody asked you about growing, building muscle and losing fat at the same time. Wait a minute. Just let me finish setting this up, because I've told people that they can do that. Okay. But I know technically you're right. Like, and the reason
it's circumstantial.
Okay, wait a minute. The reason I say I've told people they can do that is only because I've said this thing before where I believe in growing into your weight. Like in the off season, I'll start eating like 5,500 calories, right? Let's say when I was younger. And I'll get up to like 290, and I'll hold that 290 for the rest of my off season. And as the off season goes on, I will get leaner, but still at 290. So I call it growing into your weight.
Are you in a caloric deficit at that time?
No, because 5,500 calories is definitely over my caloric.
Well, that's the difference. So like what I'm saying is, somebody comes to me and they're, say they're eating that, whatever, 6,000 calories a day. And they're like, man, I want to get a 6-pack by the end of the summer, but I want to put on 10 pounds of muscle. I'm like, that's not going to happen. Like, could you marginally get leaner and grow into your weight? I 100% agree that's possible. But for the vast majority of people who want to get lean, they're looking to get lean at a great rate. So getting lean at a decent rate of like seeing, monumental changes in a 7-day period, not monumental, but like visual difference in a 7-day period of leanness every 7 days, and then trying to put on 5 to 8 pounds of muscle is just not realistic for most people.
Time out. Let me rephrase it, because the questions I get are not from unrealistic people. They're from people who have like, let's say this is a question I'll get. I used to weigh 300 pounds. I've cut down to 200, but I still feel like I have fat on my body. Should I keep cutting, or can I still start putting on muscle and still get leaner while I'm putting on muscle?
Okay. And I would say that's possible.
Okay. So what do you tell that person? What are they going to do?
Okay. So I go, listen, given the fact that you've already lost 100 pounds of body fat means you've been in a caloric deficit for a long period of time. So your body's already insulin sensitive. It's going to be a dry sponge. And now you're going to be adding a little more food back, and you're going to be training conducive to muscle hypertrophy. So you're going to have a boosted metabolic rate. You're going to be focusing on lean muscle and a controlled diet. So he's going to see an increase in lean mass and most likely a good, decent amount of drop in body fat. The problem is, how it is, man. It's like sometimes that's a circumstance.
Yeah.
Somebody who can't bust past their plateau no matter what they do, and it's like cutting back their calories and then giving them harder weight training is not necessarily going to be putting a rewarding amount of muscle on and a rewarding amount of fat loss.
Yeah.
Tell people it is possible, but it's circumstantial. I've seen some of my clients, I tell them, like, listen, you're burning the wick at both ends. You need a kind of a caloric surplus to gain muscle. You need somewhat of a caloric deficit to burn fat. So you got to choose one or the other. And this guy goes, man, we'll do body fat first and then reverse. I'm like, that's fine. And then I look at his pictures over a 12-week period. He's a natural guy, and he wasn't really training properly. And he only lost 5 pounds, but visually changed drastically.
Yeah.
Clearly in his situation, genetics, training, nutrition, he did that.
Yeah. So what do you think is happening when I grow into my 290?
I think when you grow into your 290, you're still eating a sufficient amount of calories. You're getting an increased boost in metabolism.
But how did I get leaner?
But you're burning more fat and you're getting increase in lean mass. Now, if you just kept adding calories to try to gain more and more weight, you're going to negate that fat burning effect.
So as long as I stay at that calorie count that I have set, I'm going to grow into it.
Obviously, you know what you're doing with recovery and training. So yes.
Yeah. Okay. I wanted to ask you, if you're not a beginner, taking all beginners aside, can you gain muscle mass in a caloric deficit? And I don't mean the freak here and there that can do it. I mean, in general, can you gain muscle mass in a caloric deficit?
With drugs?
Yeah,
Yes.
you can.
Yeah.
Because I've always told people they can't.
No, I mean, think about it. Again, circumstantial. You're on cycle, you're off cycle. You're going from test EQ to like more harder compounds, trestolone, adding D-ball and test, like in your slight, well, are we talking about like a 750 calorie caloric deficit? Or
let's say I'm dieting for a show and I'm at my calories for the day at 3,500, but I'm eating 32. Can I still put on muscle?
I think if you balance recovery right, I think it's possible. Now, possible in the sense of like you're staying the same weight and you're getting grainier, harder, leaner. One prep I did, I was 218 pounds, 13 weeks out, and I stepped on stage at 212.
Okay.
And I was doing an hour and a half of cardio a day, and I grew in the entire show, but that was circumstantial given where I was coming from.
Meaning?
I wasn't using anything prior.
Oh, so you had like a rebound effect of some sort.
Right. There's so many circumstances, so I can't answer that cut and dry.
So when people say you can't gain muscle in a deficit, it's not totally true. So I need to rephrase my answer to that question. Well, I'm just saying, like, I just had this debate with Greg Doucette. Greg Doucette said that you can gain muscle in a deficit, and I said you can't. I'm excluding beginners because I think beginners can, because they've never done anything, so they're just going to grow no matter what.
Right.
But I'm excluding beginners to intermediates and advanced lifters only. But I guess in those scenarios, I mean, you can't argue with facts, right? So it's possible.
Right. It's definitely possible for the vast majority of people. I would say vast majority. You can't put a percent on it, but like I would say it's not going to happen to everybody by greater than 50%.
Oh, this is something I wanted to ask you before we go, please. I know we've been on for a while, but.
No worries, man.
I wrote down a bunch of questions and I think we covered most of them organically, but this is one I missed that I just wanted to ask was, why do you do the same exercises for 3 weeks? I noticed in your video, you said something about you had picked certain exercises for your back day and you did that workout only for 3 weeks and then you would rotate it.
3 to 5 weeks, I'll stay with the same exercises, most applying to multi-joint movements. The reason being is this, right? So say if I show you a new variation of a barbell row, right? And you do it and you're like, oh, okay. And you put 315 on there. And you're like, oh, it feels good. Oh, it feels really good. I think I'm gonna do this again next week. And next week you're able to do 365 because the neurons, you're learning a new pattern of motion.
Yeah.
It usually takes, anywhere from 2 to 5 weeks to master that new pattern of motion. Mm-hmm. Where you're getting the maximum amount of muscle recruitment in that particular exercise. So if you're changing exercise all the time, provided it's not a complex motion, like obviously a bicep curl is a damn bicep curl. It's like you don't have to like learn a new pattern of motion.
Yeah.
But a new variation of a row, a squat, maybe even a press. There's going to be a period of time where you're getting better at that motion. And people are like, oh, I'm getting stronger. It's like, no, your body's learning how to fire the muscles in that time. And then you maximize it, get stuck, and then change, and then go back. I actually got that from a famous powerlifter. And he was saying that, when you're trying to maximize motor recruitment of a particular motion, he goes, you must stay with the same exercise in the same order for a period of time to max out your body's ability to fire those neurons before you change. So it's like going from a high bar squat to a low bar squat to a sumo squat like every other week. He goes, it's detrimental in that aspect because your body doesn't have enough time with that one motion.
Okay, so when you go back to that, let's take barbell rows, for example. You did barbell rows, you got a new variation of it, you did it for 3 weeks or 5 weeks, whatever the amount, and you maxed out, right? and then you go do something else for 3 to 5 weeks. When you come back to the barbell row, aren't you starting back at the very beginning?
No, because now I have data accumulated of weight that I was using.
I know that, but now your neurons, don't they have to remember? No, they just know.
It's kind of like riding a bike.
Yeah.
It's like, say like for example, like racing motocross. It's like I went a year without riding at all, and I could still get on a bike and still rip it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My body still remembers. It might be a little rusty, but it might come back really fast versus kind of like obtaining the skill takes a long time, but kind of knocking off the cobwebs doesn't take nearly as much time.
So if you come back to the barbell row after that 3 to 5 week period, the first week might be a little bit off, but you'll come back to your max strength fast, is what you're saying.
Faster, or it might be dead on. Like I switched my exercises most recently back to week 1, and I was at greater strength than the last week when I left.
Okay, and when you switch, when you set this up, you're doing the exact same chest workout for 3 weeks. You're not changing any of the rep schemes, any of the volume.
No, the only way I'll change the volume is if I make an error. So like, say if obviously one thing that people, you realize this, that like strength's not the same every week.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're feeling really good and sometimes your body's recovering slow. So you might need to make an adjustment on the fly. So like a couple weeks back, I remember I was feeling stupid strong. And I looked at my logbook, and I used my logbook not to break numbers, but more or less to have a reference.
Yeah.
So I don't look at the reps I do. I leave reps out on purpose. So I know what weight to use. And then I look at the reps and I go, oh, no shit. I did better than I did last week. I did a particular weight and it was actually extremely easy.
Okay.
Added an extra set because that weight was really easy.
I
and
see.
No to that for the following week.
Yeah, I get it. Okay, interesting. So you think that's a good protocol to keep people growing or getting stronger, or both?
It's been a great protocol for me for growth. Okay. I've been spinning my wheels for a long time doing this nonsense of just multiple sets to failure and drop sets. And my body just wasn't recovering. And I kept getting overuse injuries in my elbows over and over and over. Yeah. So I'm like, man, this is not working. Like, how many times can you do the same thing and not get anywhere? So I'm like, maybe I should try a completely different approach. Maybe I should stop with an RIR of like maybe 1 to 2 reps, or just train right to failure where your first rep looks identical to your last rep, and then see how I feel the following week. And I did that. And the next day my chest was fuller, mildly sore, but not like flat and empty. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I got you.
Reps, So I'm like, wow, this is good. So maybe next week I'll add 1 more set on each exercise and see how I recover. And then I kind of find like a little threshold where I could leave the gym feeling super pumped. The next day I would feel mildly sore, if no soreness. My energy was good, appetite was good, and I was getting insane pumps even just after a warm-up set.
Yeah.
So recovery is really good right now.
Yeah.
And before, I used to always be like hit or miss. Well, one day's recovery's bad. The next day I feel flat. The next day I'm tired. The next day I'm achy. I'm like, I didn't feel like this when I was 20, Now that I'm a little older, like I got to pay attention a little closer to this.
Yeah. I don't really know where the line is. That's my problem. I always want to do what you're saying. I always want to pull back a bit because I always look better when I pull back, but I have trouble knowing where the line is. So when I'm actually in the gym, I'm like, do I stop now? Do I stop now? If I stop now, am I being lazy?
It's the hardest thing in the world, dude. I tell you, because I the same way, I look at the clock and I'm like, man, I'm going to be out of here in 75 minutes. And sometimes I find myself I always want to do more. I want to do more and more and more. I love training. I love it to death. Yeah. But I keep thinking to myself, I'm like, if I keep doing what I was doing, I'm going to get the same fucking result.
Yeah.
I just have to hang back and take note. And then I'll take note. Like the next day in my book, I wrote a note being like, didn't feel soreness at all, didn't feel tight. And I'm like, okay, maybe I can go a little harder. And then go that way. And then 1 week I changed gyms, different equipment,
Yeah.
Stupid sore. Like so sore and flat. And I'm like tired and exhausted. And I'm like, oh, that did too much,
Yeah. How long have you kept the logbook for? Like since the beginning?
No, this is new. Last 5 months, maybe about 5 months.
I've never used one. Do you think it's a good idea? Do you like it?
I like it doing it the way I do it. So listen, this is what I'll do. I'll write it down in the gym, right?
Yeah.
And I'll go home and I'll put it into a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
And then before I leave, I'll copy the spreadsheet and I'll paste it into an email on my phone, but I'll exclude the reps I did, just the weights. So I can't see reps.
Why are you doing all of that? Why are you putting it in a spreadsheet, and why are you doing all that?
My handwriting's horrible.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I can't see anything.
Are you going to publish that for people, like as a program they can buy, or no?
No, I help people with their training program. I just modify what they're doing, or I'm not really into the training thing. Like personally, if I feel that I'm not super qualified to help people, that's not my thing. Nutrition's my thing. I do help people with training and angles and making sure they're not training like a weightlifter, just like, pushing the weight and actually not like, pushing the muscle,
Yeah. Yeah.
Because, a lot of people sitting there like, my chest doesn't grow. And you look at them bench, you're like, well, that's why.
Yeah. Before we go, I want to get just a couple quick hitters. Why do you not like women wearing tight pants?
Lexi, I never said that, but like, she likes to do that to get a rise out of me. Like if she comes downstairs and I don't comment on her pants, she'll go back upstairs and change the pants. So if she comes downstairs and I go, you're wearing that to the gym? She goes, yeah. And then she will wear it. But if she comes downstairs and am I right?
Yes.
And if she goes, and I don't say anything, I'm like, where are you? She's like, I'm changing. I'm like, what's wrong with you? Hat on.
Okay. Well,
Hi, how are you?
Hi. He sees me day in and day out. I have to keep it interesting, right?
I see.
Other 24/7.
So you're trying to like specifically troll him a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Always.
We push each other's buttons, make fun of each other.
You know this, man. If you work with her all day long, we have to like be able to bust each other's chops like buddies. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So she's always razzing me wearing sketchy shit. I'm always like, what are you doing? Why?
You're welcome.
Like I can see your vagina on that thing. Dude.
But you don't get upset. You're cool with it.
No, like I'm just cool with that. Like I'm not like, you better change your shit. I'm not like that. But I'm like, I can't believe you're wearing something like that.
It helps your training.
No, it does not.
You know what?
Yeah.
I like that. I like the attitude that you have because you guys are able to keep things fun. Was it always like that?
Yeah, we've always been. Yeah, she's got for a personality for a chick. She's very easygoing.
Yeah,
like more easygoing than I'm used to. Like when certain things would happen, and I'd be like, like expecting that reaction, and then she's nah, it's totally cool. I'm like, what? Are you sure? So this is a great story, right?
Yeah.
We had our bathroom redone in this little box apartment we lived, and there was no bathroom for 24 hours.
Yeah.
4 days.
So 4 days. So the contractor comes in and sees her walk in, and he looks at me and he goes, dude, do you have a female living here? And I go, yeah. He goes, there's no toilet. How's that going? I'm like, she hasn't said anything. He goes, where's she going to the bathroom? And I go, question. And I go, Lex, when you go to the bathroom? She's like, oh, I wake up in the night, go outside and pee. And I'm like, holy shit. And he looks at me and he goes, dude, you got to marry that girl.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. And she walks in. I'm like, where have you been going? She goes, oh, just outside. And I'm like, no big deal? Middle of the night, midnight, he's pop a squat, pee outside. She's like, yeah. And I'm like, sweet.
How old is your wife?
28.
Good job.
Holy shit. Yeah. She just turned 20. I'm bad at dates.
Or 8 years difference.
8 years difference. And when you got a dog, how many dogs do you have?
5.
Too many? No,
5 dogs?
Yeah. That's Stuart. We have 4 little ones, and we have a 16-year-old black lab.
How is that around the house?
It's fun.
Yeah, you have a 16-year-old black lab?
Yeah.
He's Old Man River.
That's what we have a 14-year-old chocolate lab.
That's crazy.
14 or 15. He's got bad hips and everything. We have
that harness on him.
Yeah, that's what we have. We gotta help him up and down the stairs.
Yeah.
And we we make him like people food. My wife has to like hand feed him. So yeah.
Foster is still into eating food, but we give him like CBD oil, MCT oil. I give him people food, and we have this real food canned stuff that's like chicken, rice, and carrots and oatmeal or something like that.
Yeah.
Some medley of
he needs
real
more
food.
calories.
He needs more calories for sure.
Yeah. That's
cool. We
cool.
changed his food, man. He got better, like much better right away.
Yeah.
Fast.
Yeah.
Dog food.
Last question. because I noticed you put out a couple rants on Instagram, and I like the fact that you rant because you seem really angry sometimes. So, what are your 3 biggest pet peeves? If you had any, and it doesn't have to be just bodybuilding, it could be anything.
Okay. One is when people say they don't have time for something. It just means you don't value it enough to not make time for it. Don't say, if someone says to me, hey man, you never hang out anymore, I'm not gonna say I don't have time. I'm like, bro, I really just don't want to hang out with you. And don't make excuses. I can't stand excuses. I went to military school for a year, and if we made an excuse, we have to do 100 push-ups on the spot. Like if we made an excuse for anything, why did you guys not make it to the mess hall on time? And he's waiting for somebody to say, Jacob over there could put a shirt on, 100 push-ups. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Just do it. Just do it. I can't stand excuses, and I can't stand when people don't take ownership for their actions. If you mess up, say you're sorry.
Take responsibility.
Take responsibility. In America, that's like lost.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that I cannot stand, man. It's like, and to me, it's like part of being a man is like taking ownership. You're like, you know what, dude, I totally fucked up, and that's my fault. Instead of just, no, man, well, you made me do this. Nobody made you do anything, dude.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
That drives me crazy.
Yeah.
Man.
I agree.
know?
You just opened a whole other can of worms I want to ask you about now with like military school and all those other things, but it's been, I don't want to keep you on too long, man, 'cause it's been a little over an hour. So if you'll come on again, we could talk more about like your life growing up and all that. Cause I just wanted to get a lot of the X's and O's because I knew you would have all the knowledge and I wanted people to hear it. But I want to get into some of the lifestyle stuff another time. So if you can in the future, we'll get you back on.
Yeah, for sure, man. That's my upbringing. That's a good story, that military school story.
Well, we'll get into all of it another time. I don't want to make, like I said, I don't want to keep you on too long, but I appreciate the time, man. Thank you very much. And I hope people get a lot of benefit out of this. There's a lot of good information.
Yeah, man. I really appreciate the invite, dude. I thought it was really cool.
Yeah, thank you very much, man. We'll do it again soon. I'll shoot you a message and we'll get it lined up.
You got it.
Okay, man. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.